Hi, welcome to our Havoc Digital video blog. I'm Andy, and thanks for checking out our video. To clear up a misconception about SEO, what we do is not rocket science when you look at it from the perspective of building up your website and your reputation, but online. Same as in the real world, being recognized as an expert in your field and in your subject and industry, having people talk and refer to you and acknowledge your skills and abilities. We do all of this online, and we do it all the time. That gets you rankings, traffic, and in turn, more traffic, subscribers, inquiries, leads, sales, etc. So where do you start? Well, first off, we need to look at the basics of on-site optimization. These are the changes that you make to your website and your web pages where they could be indexed correctly, making your pages more readable to the search engines to know what your website is all about. And that's the point, right? If you were writing children's books, let's say, you'd write it for your audience, right? So the same applies for search engines. Yes, of course, logical. Okay, so the first thing we need to look at is the architecture or structure of your website. It's important with your design to make sure to put it together in CSS as opposed to tables. What's also important is that you source your CSS and also things like JavaScripts externally from separate files. This reduces all the code in the HTML files, and it just gives you a greater content to code ratio, which is great for search engines. It's also good to have a clear page hierarchy on your website, and ideally, if you can, to keep your navigation to succinct bullet points and real text, which can be controlled through CSS. Talk to your web designer just to confirm this about your own website. It could be a small job to switch it around if you do happen to have tables rather than CSS. Okay, the next thing we need to look at are the page titles and the metadata. Just like titles and opening paragraphs in a book, these need to be unique to every page on your website. The most effective page titles are about 10 to 70 characters long, including spaces. Keep your titles concise and make sure they contain your best keywords. Meta descriptions are useful because they often dictate how your pages are shown in search results. For optimum effectiveness, meta descriptions should be 70 to 160 characters long. Again, your meta descriptions should be concise and contain your best keywords. Another important element in HTML files are header tags. Header tags go from 1 to 6, with the H1 being the main heading for the page. Ideally, if you're using them correctly, they will be in a hierarchy structure. A page should start with a H1 header at the top of the page. This immediately tells the search engines in one sentence what your website is about. You can include keywords in your headings. The initial heading H1 should include your best keywords. Using only one H1 heading per page will strengthen your SEO. You can then use a couple H2 headings and a couple H3 headings and so on. They're great for breaking up paragraphs, and when matched to the page content, it works really well for SEO. Now, on the subject of content, you may have heard the phrase content is king. Well, you can't really optimize for a phrase unless your content reflects that phrase. If you're marketing oranges, then you should have content to reflect that your website page is the authority for all things on oranges. If you also have lemons, then talk about them on another page. Google and the other engines will be looking for your key phrases in your text. That doesn't mean, though, to go cramming or spamming keywords left and right and center. It means be honest and ethical. Mention your keywords and secondary keywords, but make sure your text is written with your audience in mind and not the search engines. Now, with all of your images on the page, we suggest adding alt text so that it's easier for search engines to index them. Search engines don't physically see images the way that people do. Alt text is an option that allows you to specifically describe the image. Be honest here, but you can use some of your secondary keywords to describe your images. Alt text attaches a description to your pictures so that they show up in Google and other search engines' image results. Make sure each of your website images have their own specific alt text. Keep in mind that your page's load time will vary based on the number and size of your images. try your best to keep it low. Now, just like a book has an index, your website needs a sitemap, preferably in XML format. An XML sitemap lists URLs that can be crawled and may offer other information such as how often you update, when your last updates occurred, and importance. With an XML sitemap, search engines can index your website more accurately. Although it's been debated, we suggest that you submit an XML sitemap to Google Webmaster's Tools. So that's the basics of on-site optimization. If you need to know what's wrong with your website's on-site, drop us a line via email at onsite@havocdigital.co or leave us a message in the comments and we'll provide you with a complimentary, detailed on-site report highlighting what issues you need to address. Thanks again for watching our video blog, and if you have any comments or questions, please leave them on the comments below. Bye for now.